Minho stared at his computer screen in the communication center of Earth's orbital station. The numbers on his monitor made no sense. The signal coming from deep space was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was strong, clear, and definitely not from Earth. This can't be right, Minho whispered to himself. He checked his equipment 3 times. Everything was working perfectly. The signal was real. Minho pressed the emergency button on his desk. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Within minutes, his supervisor rushed into the room. "What's the problem, Minho?" asked Commander Hyunwoo. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from outside our solar system. It's not from any of our ships or stations." Hyunwoo's face went pale. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. The signal is too strong and too organized to be natural. Someone or something is trying to talk to us." Within an hour, Admiral Jiho arrived at the station. He was Earth's most respected military leader, a man who had served in 3 wars and never lost a battle. Behind him came Chief Diplomat Yoonji and Defense Minister Taewon. "Show me everything," Admiral Jiho ordered. Minho played the transmission. Strange sounds filled the room. The language was unlike anything they had heard before, but there was a pattern to it. It sounded intelligent. "Get Soo-young here immediately," Yoonji said. "If anyone can understand this, she can." Dr. Soo-young was Earth's best language expert. She had learned 23 human languages and could break codes faster than any computer. When she arrived, she listened to the transmission for 2 hours without saying a word. Finally, she looked up. "I can translate part of it. Give me 12 more hours, and I'll have the full message." Those 12 hours felt like 12 years. Admiral Jiho paced the floor. Yoonji made dozens of phone calls to world leaders. Taewon reviewed Earth's defense systems. Everyone knew this moment would change everything. When Soo-young finished her work, she called everyone back to the communication center. Her hands shook as she held her translation. "The message is from something called the Galactic Council," she began. "They say they represent 17 different alien races. They know about Earth. They know about our space colonies. And they're not happy." "What do they want?" Admiral Jiho asked. Soo-young read from her notes. "They say humans are expanding too fast through space. We're building colonies and mining stations in places they don't want us to go. They're ordering us to stop all activities outside our solar system immediately." "That's impossible," Taewon said. "We have millions of people living on those colonies. We can't just abandon them." "There's more," Soo-young continued. "They're giving us 72 hours to agree. If we don't, they'll take what they call corrective measures." "What kind of measures?" Yoonji asked. Before Soo-young could answer, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Minho ran to his computer. "Sir, we're losing contact with the Titan research station," he reported. "Technical problems?" Admiral Jiho asked. "No, sir. The station just disappeared. 1 second it was there, the next second it was gone." Everyone rushed to the main viewing screen. Where the Titan station should have been, there was only empty space. No debris, no explosion, nothing. "Check the other outer stations," Admiral Jiho ordered. Within minutes, they discovered that 2 more research stations had vanished. The Ganymede mining facility and the Europa scientific outpost were gone. Hundreds of people had simply disappeared. "How is this possible?" Taewon asked. "There were no weapons fired, no energy readings, nothing on our sensors." Soo-young's voice was quiet when she spoke. "The message says this is just a demonstration. They want us to know what they can do." Admiral Jiho sat down heavily in a chair. In all his years of military service, he had never faced an enemy with this kind of power. How do you fight someone who can make entire space stations vanish without a trace? "There's one more thing," Soo-young said. "They say if we agree to their terms, they'll let us live in peace in our solar system. They'll protect us like animals in a zoo." The room fell silent. The idea of humans being kept as pets by alien masters made everyone sick. "Contact President Daeho," Admiral Jiho finally said. "Tell him to call an emergency meeting of all world leaders. We have 72 hours to decide the future of humanity." As the group prepared to leave the station, Minho received another message. This one was shorter than the first. "What does it say?" Admiral Jiho asked. Soo-young translated quickly. It says, "We have watched you for 50 of your years. We know your nature. You fight among yourselves, but you have never faced a real enemy. Do not make the mistake of thinking you can fight us. Accept our protection and your species will survive." Admiral Jiho's jaw tightened. He had spent his life protecting Earth from threats. Now he faced the biggest threat in human history, and his weapons seemed useless. "Sir," Minho said quietly, "what are we going to do?" Admiral Jiho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, powerful aliens were waiting for humanity's answer. They expected humans to surrender without a fight. They thought humans would choose safety over freedom. "We're going to do what humans have always done when someone tries to make us kneel," Admiral Jiho said. "We're going to show them who they're dealing with." As Earth's leaders prepared for the most important meeting in human history, the clock was ticking. In 72 hours, humanity would give their answer to the Galactic Council. The aliens expected surrender. They were about to learn they had badly underestimated the human spirit. President Daeho's plane was already in the air, racing toward the emergency assembly. In conference rooms around the world, military leaders were studying star maps and weapon inventories. Scientists were analyzing the alien technology that had destroyed 3 stations without leaving a trace. Everyone knew that the next 3 days would determine whether humanity remained free or became prisoners in their own solar system. The Galactic Council had made their position clear. Now it was time for Earth to make their choice. The warning had been delivered. Soon, Earth would send their reply. The emergency meeting took place in a bunker deep under the Rocky Mountains. World leaders sat around a massive table, their faces grim. President Daeho looked tired. He had not slept since the alien message arrived. "The choice seems clear," said the Prime Minister of Britain. "We cannot fight beings who can destroy our stations without firing a shot. We must accept their terms." "And become pets?" asked the President of Brazil. "Live in a cage while they watch us like zoo animals?" "Better to live as pets than to die as heroes," replied the Chancellor of Germany. Admiral Jiho stood up. He had been quiet during most of the debate, but now his patience was gone. "With respect to everyone here," he said, "you're thinking like politicians. I'm thinking like a soldier. These aliens made one big mistake." "What mistake?" President Daeho asked. "They showed us their hand too early. They wanted to scare us, so they destroyed 3 stations. But now we know something about their weapons." Dr. Seo Jin, Earth's top scientist, entered the room carrying a tablet computer. She had been analyzing the alien attack for 24 hours straight. "Admiral Jiho is right," she said. "I've studied the energy readings from the destroyed stations. The aliens use some kind of space-time distortion weapon. It's incredibly advanced, but it has limits." "What kind of limits?" asked Defense Minister Taewon. "The weapon requires enormous energy. My calculations show they can't use it continuously. There's also something else. The distortion leaves a signature that our quantum tunneling experiments can detect." Colonel Yuna, Admiral Jiho's top strategist, leaned forward. "Are you saying we might be able to defend against it?" "Possibly," Dr. Seojin replied. "Our quantum tunneling research was designed to move objects instantly across space. If we reverse the process, we might be able to create shields that deflect their weapons." Commander Hyunwoo, who had been listening carefully, spoke up. "How long would it take to build these shields?" "Working non-stop with every scientist and engineer on Earth. Maybe 60 hours. But that's cutting it very close to their deadline." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. 60 hours to build untested weapons to fight an enemy with technology beyond human understanding. General Min Jae, the oldest military leader in the room, suddenly laughed. Everyone stared at him. "You think I've lost my mind?" he asked. "Maybe I have, but I just realized something. These aliens don't understand humans at all." "What do you mean?" President Daeho asked. "They think we'll surrender because their weapons are better than ours. They think we'll choose safety over freedom, but they've never met a human being before." "They said they've been watching us for 50 years, Yoonji pointed out. "Watching? Yes, but not understanding. If they really understood humans, they would never have given us a deadline." Humans don't respond well to ultimatums. Admiral Jiho nodded slowly. General Minjae is right. The more I think about this, the more I realize these aliens made a terrible mistake. They treated us like we're the same as every other species they've conquered. So what are you suggesting? President Daeho asked. We don't surrender. We don't negotiate. We fight. Half the room erupted in arguments. Some leaders called the idea insane. Others demanded to know how Earth could possibly win against such advanced technology. Ambassador Jiwon, who had been quiet throughout the meeting, raised her hand for silence. May I suggest something? She asked. Before we decide to fight or surrender, shouldn't we tell these aliens exactly what we think of their ultimatum? What do you mean? Asked President Daeho. I mean, we send them a message, a clear, simple message that explains who we are and what we stand for. Admiral Jiho's eyes lit up. A formal response to their warning. Exactly. But not the response they're expecting. Jiwon stood up and walked to the front of the room. These aliens sent us a warning. They expect us to reply with either surrender or a plea for mercy. What if we reply with something they've never received before? Like what? Taewon asked. A declaration of war. The room exploded in noise. Some leaders shouted that it was suicide. Others argued that it was the only honorable choice. President Daeho called for order. Explain your idea, Ambassador Jiwon, he said. Every species these aliens have conquered probably begged for mercy or tried to negotiate. No one has ever looked them in the eye and said no. What if we're the first? Dr. Seo-jin nodded thoughtfully. It might buy us time. If we surprise them, they might hesitate before attacking. Or they might destroy Earth immediately, the Prime Minister of Japan pointed out. They were going to attack anyway, Admiral Jiho said. At least this way. We face them on our terms, not theirs. President Daeho looked around the room. All in favor of sending a message of defiance? Slowly, hands began to rise. First Admiral Jiho, then General Minjae, then Colonel Yuna. One by one, more hands went up. When the vote was counted, humanity had chosen defiance over surrender. Ambassador Jiwon, President Daeho said. Draft our response. Make it clear, make it simple, and make it absolutely unmistakable. Jiwon worked through the night. She wrote and rewrote the message dozens of times. It had to be perfect, too weak. And the aliens would think humans were still open to negotiation, too aggressive, and they might attack immediately. Finally, as the sun rose over the mountains, she finished. The message was only 3 sentences long, but it would change galactic history. We are humanity. We acknowledge your superior technology, but we reject your ultimatum. If you want our submission, you will have to take it by force. The message was broadcast on every frequency Earth could transmit. It reached the alien fleet in minutes. For the first time in galactic history, a species had responded to the Council's warning with a declaration of war. The aliens were so shocked that they delayed their attack for 6 hours while their leaders debated what to do. They had conquered 43 different species. None had ever responded like this. On Earth, the countdown continued. 60 hours to build quantum shields. 60 hours to prepare for the greatest battle in human history. Warning had been answered. Now both sides prepared for war. Earth had become a giant factory. In every country and every city, people worked without stopping. Sleep became a luxury that few could afford. The countdown clock showed 58 hours until the alien deadline. Fleet Admiral Kyungmin stood in the command center of Earth's largest military base. Around him, screens showed thousands of ships preparing for battle. Every military vessel Earth owned was being equipped with new weapons. Even cargo ships and passenger transports were being converted into warships. How many ships will we have? Asked Captain Sunho. 437 combat vessels, 800 converted civilian ships, Kyungmin replied. It sounds like a lot until you remember we're fighting beings who can destroy space stations by thinking about it. Captain Nari entered the command center carrying a thick folder of photographs. I have the reconnaissance reports from our stealth probes, she said. The alien fleet is massive. 47 ships, each one larger than our biggest battleship. Kyung-min studied the photos. The alien vessels looked like nothing human engineers had ever imagined. They were smooth, curved, and seemed to glow with their own light. Any weaknesses? He asked. Hard to say. Our probes couldn't get close enough for detailed scans. But there's something interesting. All the smaller ships seem to be following the movements of one large vessel in the center of their formation. A command ship. That's what I think. If we could disable it, the rest of the fleet might lose coordination. Captain Soon-ho looked skeptical. That's a big if. How do we get close enough to attack their command ship when they can destroy us from a distance? Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded throughout the base. Chief Engineer Woo Jin's voice came over the intercom. All senior officers to Laboratory 7 immediately. Dr. Seojin has something to show you. They found Dr. Seojin standing next to a strange metal dome about the size of a small building. The dome hummed with energy and seemed to bend the light around it. This is our first quantum shield generator, she announced. It's not perfect, but it works. How do you know it works? Admiral Jiho asked. We tested it this morning. Watch. Dr. Seojin nodded to one of her assistants, who fired a powerful laser at the dome. The laser beam bent around the dome like water flowing around a rock. The shield creates a distortion in space-time, Dr. Seojin explained. Any energy weapon that hits it gets redirected away from the target. That's incredible, Captain Sunho said. How many can we build? Dr. Seojin's smile faded. That's the problem. Each generator requires rare materials we don't have much of. We can build maybe 50 shields total, and each one can only work for about 30 minutes before the power cells burn out. 30 minutes? Kyung-min asked. That's not enough time for a battle. It's enough time to protect our most important targets when the aliens first attack, Dr. Seojin replied. After that, we'll have to rely on speed and luck. Strategic Analyst Bora hurried into the laboratory carrying her computer tablet. Her face was pale with worry. I've been studying the intercepted alien communications, she said. I have bad news. How bad? Admiral Jiho asked. The Galactic Council has done this before. Many times. I found references to 38 different species that refused their ultimatums. What happened to them? They're all gone. Every single one was completely destroyed. No survivors, no refugees, no traces left behind. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity wasn't just fighting for freedom. They were fighting for survival. There's more, Bora continued. The aliens seem to enjoy these battles. They call them corrections. It's like a sport to them. Then let's give them a game they'll never forget, Admiral Jiho said grimly. As the hours passed, Earth's preparations continued at frantic speed. Civilian Coordinator Jamin organized the evacuation of major cities. Millions of people moved to underground shelters that had been built during the old nuclear war scares. The shelters weren't designed to withstand alien weapons, but they were better than nothing. Communications Director Hana worked to keep people calm. She broadcast messages of hope and determination to every corner of the planet. Her most important job was making sure that if Earth fell, the rest of humanity's colonies would know what happened. People of Earth, she said in her final broadcast, before the battle, in a few hours we will face the greatest challenge in human history. We don't know if we will win, but we know why we fight. We fight for the right to choose our own path among the stars. We fight for our children's freedom. We fight because we are human and humans bow to no one. Captain Sunho made final preparations aboard his battleship, the Indomitable. It was humanity's most advanced warship, equipped with the newest weapons and strongest armor. But compared to the alien vessels, it was like a rowboat facing a hurricane. Sir, his weapons officer asked, what's our battle plan? Simple, Sunho replied. We hit them as hard as we can, as fast as we can, and we keep fighting until we can't fight anymore. And if we lose, then we make sure they remember us. Lieutenant Yoon Seo was checking her fighter craft when her squadron leader approached. Are you ready for this? He asked. Yunseo looked at her small ship, then at the stars where the alien fleet waited. My fighter doesn't have shields, heavy armor, or long-range weapons, but it has something the aliens don't understand. What's that? A human pilot who's too stubborn to quit. As the deadline approached, President Deho prepared to address the world one final time. He stood in the underground command center surrounded by monitors showing Earth's defenses. My fellow humans, he began. In 2 hours, the alien fleet will arrive. They expect us to surrender. They think we will choose safety over freedom. They are wrong. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Today, we don't fight just for Earth. We fight for every human being who ever dreamed of touching the stars. We fight for the principle that no one has the right to cage the human spirit. Whatever happens in the next few hours, remember this. We chose to fight. We chose to be free. The broadcast ended. Earth fell silent as people waited for the battle to begin. In space, sensors detected the first signs of the approaching alien fleet. Massive ships moving faster than anything humans had ever built. Admiral Jiho took his position in the command center. Around him, the best military minds on Earth prepared for humanity's greatest test. All ships, this is Admiral Jiho, he announced. Today we face an enemy with superior technology and overwhelming numbers. But they've never faced humans before. Show them what that means. The alien fleet appeared on the edge of the solar system. 47 ships of impossible size and power, coming to end humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Earth was ready to fight back. The alien fleet arrived exactly at the deadline. 47 massive ships appeared near Jupiter, moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Each alien vessel was 10 times larger than humanity's biggest battleship. Fleet Commander Jinwoo watched from the bridge of the Earth battleship Defiance. His fleet of human ships looked tiny compared to the approaching aliens, like children's toys facing real weapons. All ships, maintain defensive formation around Earth and Mars, Jinwoo ordered. Do not fire until they fire first. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. Put it through. The alien voice was cold and mechanical. Human vessels, you have chosen to reject our protection. This is unfortunate. Withdraw your ships and surrender your planet. This is your final opportunity. Jinwoo picked up his microphone. Alien fleet, this is Fleet Commander Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Force. We reject your offer. If you want our planet, come and take it. The alien response was immediate. Beams of energy shot out from their lead ships toward the human fleet. But something strange happened. The beams missed their targets by hundreds of miles. Their weapons are incredibly powerful, but their targeting is off, reported Captain Sunho from his battleship Indomitable. It's like they can't predict where we're going to be. That's because they can't, replied Colonel Yuna over the communication system. I've been studying their attack patterns. They're using logical, mathematical calculations to predict our movements. But human pilots don't fly logically. This was humanity's first advantage. The aliens had fought many species, but they had all flown their ships in predictable patterns. Human pilots flew based on instinct, emotion, and split-second decisions that no computer could calculate. Lieutenant Yoon Seo proved this point dramatically. Flying her small fighter craft, she dove straight toward the largest alien ship. The alien weapons tried to track her, but she changed direction randomly, following no pattern except her own survival instincts. Yoon Seo, what are you doing? Her squadron leader called over the radio. Something stupid, she replied, and accelerated, directly toward the alien ship's hull. The aliens couldn't understand her flight path. Their targeting computers calculated dozens of possible escape routes for her fighter, but never considered that she might not try to escape at all. Yoon Seo crashed her fighter into the alien ship's side at full speed. The explosion was enormous. For the first time in the battle, an alien ship was damaged. A section of its hull cracked open, and the ship began to drift. She did it, Captain, Sunho whispered. She actually hurt them. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Yoon Seo was gone, and the aliens began to adapt their tactics. They started firing in wider patterns, making random shots harder to avoid. Dr. Seojin activated the first quantum shield just as an alien weapon targeted Earth's lunar base. The energy beam hit the shield and bounced harmlessly into space. "Shield, Generator 1 is working," she reported. "But the power cells are already at 60%. We've got maybe 20 minutes before it fails." Defense Coordinator Dongwu had the hardest job in the battle. He had to decide when to use each of the 50 quantum shields. Use them too early, and they'd burn out before the real attack began. Wait too long, and important targets would be destroyed. "Shield Generator 7, protect the Mars colony," he ordered as alien beams targeted the red planet. "Generator 12, cover the Earth orbital stations." One by one, the shields activated and burned out. Each one saved thousands of lives, but Earth was running out of protection. The battle was not going well for humanity. Despite their unpredictable flying, the human ships were being destroyed faster than they could fight back. The alien weapons were simply too powerful. Scout Commander Minsu had been watching the battle from his stealth ship, hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon. He made a discovery that could change everything. "Fleet Command. This is Minsu," he called. "I've been observing the alien fleet formation. All their ships are receiving orders from the large vessel in the center. If we could destroy or disable it, the rest of their fleet might lose coordination." "How do you know?" Admiral Jiho asked. "I've been watching their communication patterns. Every time the central ship transmits, the other ships change their tactics. It's like a brain controlling the body." Captain Nari was listening to the conversation from her stealth cruiser Phantom. "I can get close to their command ship," she volunteered. "My ship has the best stealth technology in the fleet." "That's a suicide mission," Admiral Jiho replied. "Their command ship is in the center of their formation, protected by dozens of other vessels." "Maybe," Nari said. "But if we don't try something, we're going to lose anyway. Let me take my stealth squadron and see if we can get through." Admiral Jiho hesitated. Sending Nari and her ships against the alien command vessel was probably sending them to their deaths. But the main battle was already lost. Earth's fleet was being destroyed ship by ship. "Permission granted," he finally said. "All ships cover Captain Nari's approach. Give her every chance you can." Nari's stealth squadron consisted of 12 of humanity's most advanced ships. They were small, fast, and nearly invisible to enemy sensors. But nearly invisible wasn't the same as completely invisible. "Stay close to me," Nari told her pilots. "Follow my exact flight path. If we get separated, we're dead." The stealth ships moved through the alien fleet like ghosts. They passed between the massive alien vessels, so close that Nari could see details of the alien hull design. The aliens didn't detect them at first. Then everything went wrong. "Captain, they're scanning for us," reported her weapons officer. "They know we're here." Alien fighters poured out of the larger ships like angry wasps. They were fast, heavily armed, and designed specifically to hunt small ships. "All ships, break formation," Nari ordered. "Get to the command ship any way you can." The next few minutes were chaos. Alien fighters chased the human stealth ships through the fleet. Explosions lit up space as human ships were destroyed one by one. Nari watched 9 of her 12 ships die in the fighting. Only 3 vessels reached the alien command ship, her own ship and 2 others. "This is it," she told her remaining pilots. "All weapons, target their communication arrays. If we can't destroy the ship, maybe we can cut off their ability to command the fleet." The 3 human ships fired every weapon they had at the massive alien command vessel. Explosions bloomed across its hull as human missiles and energy beams found their targets were hitting something important, one of her pilots reported. "I'm seeing secondary explosions all along their hull." But the command ship was fighting back. Defensive weapons cut down the other 2 human ships in seconds. Only Nari's ship remained. "Captain, we're losing power," her engineer reported. "Hull breach on deck 3. Engines failing." Nari looked at the alien command ship. It was damaged, but still fighting. She made a decision that would change the course of the battle. "All hands, abandon ship," she ordered. "Get to the escape pods." "Captain, what are you doing?" her weapons officer asked. "Finishing the job." Nari stayed at the controls as her crew escaped. She aimed her dying ship directly at the alien command vessel and pushed the engines to maximum power. The ship accelerated toward the alien hull like a missile. The explosion when her ship hit the command vessel was visible from Earth. The alien command ship broke apart in a burst of light and debris. Suddenly, the alien fleet's coordinated attack stopped. The ships began firing randomly, moving without purpose, and even colliding with each other. "They've lost their command structure," Admiral Jiho announced to the human fleet. "All ships press the attack. This is our chance." The battle was far from over, but for the first time since it began, humanity had hope. Captain Nari's sacrifice had changed everything. The alien fleet without their command ship began making mistakes. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now bumped into each other. Their precise attacks became wild shots that missed their targets. Tactical Officer Yejin was the first to notice the aliens' weakness. "Admiral Jiho, their fleet is losing coordination. They're fighting like individual ships instead of a united force." "Then we hit them before they can reorganize, Admiral," Jiho replied. Despite being wounded when his ship took a direct hit, he refused to leave the command center. "All ships focus your attacks on the largest alien vessels." Admiral Taehyun took control of the main attack fleet after Admiral Jiho's injury. He was younger and more aggressive, perfect for the desperate battle ahead. "Listen up, everyone," Taehyun announced over the fleet communication system. "We're going to do something crazy. We're going to charge their biggest ship and fight them up close." "Sir, that's suicide," Captain Sunho protested. "Their weapons are too powerful." "Maybe. But fighting at long range isn't working either. At close range, our smaller ships can move around them faster than they can turn their big guns." It was a desperate plan, but desperate times called for desperate actions. The remaining human ships formed up behind the battleship Indomitable and accelerated toward the largest alien vessel. The aliens tried to stop the human charge, but without their command ship, their response was slow and uncoordinated. Human ships weaved between the alien energy beams like fighters dodging raindrops. Engineer Specialist Inho was working frantically in his ship's engine room when he made a discovery that would win the battle. "Captain Sunho," he called over the intercom, "I figured out why our weapons aren't doing much damage to their ships." "Tell me quickly," Sunho replied as his ship shook from alien weapon hits. "Their shields adapt to whatever frequency we shoot at them, but I can modify our weapons to constantly change frequencies. They won't be able to adapt fast enough. How long will it take? Give me 5 minutes. You've got 3. Inho worked faster than he had ever worked in his life. Around him, the ship shook as alien weapons found their target again and again, but his modifications held together. "Done," he announced. "All weapons now switch frequencies every 2 seconds." Captain Sunho ordered his weapons officer to fire at the large alien ship. The human energy beams hit the alien shields, which tried to adapt to the first frequency. But before they could adjust, the human weapons switched to a different frequency and punched through. "It's working!" the weapons officer shouted. "We're getting through their shields." Sunho immediately transmitted Inho's discovery to the rest of the human fleet. Within minutes, every human ship was modifying their weapons the same way. Suddenly, human weapons that had been useless against alien shields were cutting through alien hulls like knives through paper. The tide of battle began to turn. Commander Sungho led a group of fast attack ships in a pursuit of alien vessels trying to escape. "Don't let any of them get away," he ordered his pilots. "If they escape, they'll come back with reinforcements." The chase led through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Human ships followed alien vessels through the rocky maze, fighting running battles among the floating mountains of stone. Several alien ships were captured when their engines were damaged, and they couldn't escape. These were the first live alien prisoners humanity had ever taken. Intelligence Officer Yuna was brought to interrogate the captured aliens. The interview took place on a secure station far from Earth. "Why did your council decide to attack us?" she asked the alien commander. The alien's answer was translated by computer. "Your species expands too quickly. In 50 years, you have spread to dozens of star systems. In another 100 years, you would threaten council territory. So you decided to stop us? The council has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. When a species becomes too aggressive, we contain them. Usually, species accept our protection willingly after we demonstrate our power. But humans didn't accept. No. You are the first species to declare war on the council. We did not expect this. Why not? The alien was quiet for a long time before answering. We study species for many years before making contact. We learn their psychology, their social structures, their likely responses to threats. We studied humans for 50 years. And what did you learn? We learned that humans fight among themselves constantly. Wars, conflicts, violence. We concluded that you would surrender rather than face extinction. Yuna leaned forward. You misunderstood us. Humans fight each other because we're passionate, stubborn, and independent. But when someone from outside threatens all of humanity, we unite. We realize that now, the alien replied. The interrogation revealed something shocking. The Galactic Council ruled over 300 different species, but they had achieved this through intimidation, not conquest. Most species had surrendered, without fighting when shown the Council's power. How many species actually fought back? Yuna asked. Yours is the 15th to refuse our initial offer. What happened to the other 14? They were destroyed completely. Your species is the first to defeat a Council fleet. Back on Earth, President Deho was preparing humanity's response to this revelation. The victory over the alien fleet was just the beginning. Now Earth had to decide what to do with their knowledge of the Council's oppression. Director Junho had captured the Council's communication networks during the battle. This gave Earth access to transmit messages throughout the galaxy. Mr. President, Junho said, we can broadcast to every world under Council control. Hundreds of billions of beings could hear our message. What message should we send? President Deho asked. The truth, that the Council can be defeated, that freedom is possible. Ambassador Soyoung drafted the broadcast that would change galactic history. The message was simple but powerful. People of the galaxy, this is Earth. We were warned by your Council to submit to their control. We refused. We fought them and we won. The Council is not invincible. Freedom is possible. Any species that wants to throw off the Council's control can count on Earth's support. The message was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, 3 species declared independence from the Council. Within weeks, 12 more followed. The Council's empire, built on fear and intimidation, began to crumble as species realized they could fight back. 6 months after the battle, Ambassador Soyoung welcomed the first delegation of free alien species to Earth's rebuilt orbital stations. Representatives from 15 different worlds came to sign the founding charter of the Free Worlds Alliance. This alliance is based on a simple principle, President Deho told the gathered delegates. No species has the right to control another. All beings deserve the freedom to choose their own path among the stars. The ceremony was broadcast throughout the galaxy. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was an alternative to Council. Captain Sunho, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the observation deck of the new space station Freedom. Through the viewport, he could see ships from a dozen different species docked at the station. Who would have thought, he said to his aide, that humanity's first contact with aliens would lead to a galactic revolution? What happens now, sir? The aide asked. Now we help other species learn what we learned. That freedom is worth fighting for. That no one has the right to cage the dreams of an entire species. Earth had received a warning from the Galactic Council. They had replied with a proclamation of battle, but the real victory wasn't winning the fight. The real victory was proving that the powerful could be challenged, that oppression could be overcome, and that the desire for freedom was stronger than any weapon. In the end, humanity didn't just save themselves, they saved the galaxy.